All right, hello and welcome to the 15th episode of this series where I build a GitHub scraper. Um, Picking up where I left off, it's been a few days, so I'm kind of running myself back through the paces, but I do remember that this guy is the next thing that I want to do because, let's see, I had implemented my own parser. I think this is no longer necessary because the JSON is going to, or the JSON library I downloaded is going to do the parsing for me. So here I'm just going to see where this convert to profiles method is referenced. And it looks like the only place that it's referenced is in this unit test. When I parse the JSON query string false, false, that's, oh, this isn't interesting. So I have an acceptance test that's covering result parser. And that maybe is the only thing. Goodness, is this guy really not? Profile searcher. Okay, so this is dead code, which means, am I getting compiler warnings and just not being? This is one of the downsides of using this continuous test runner, and one of the only ones I can think of because it's awesome. But that I don't actually do a whole lot of building of the code base, so I should probably be a little more deliberate about that as I work. So if I do a rebuild, I'm not getting an error about this. I would, or not an error, but a warning. I would think that there'd be a compiler warning to say, hey, you're not using that thing. So if I go back here to results parser, it's being used in this acceptance test, and that's it. So let me see here. Acceptance tests, results parsing. If I delete this guy, that's no longer covered, which is expected. No errors, no warnings. My hypothesis then is that I can now simply delete this, so I will give that a shot and see if anything blows up. No, nothing blows up. All my tests are passing. Let me check my end-to-end tests just to be sure. This is sort of a reach, but it's good to be thorough with something like this. Let's do run Spec Flow scenarios. This is going to go out and take a moment to execute, and then, okay, these are all still passing, so that's good. And I think this was an important step anyway, because the longer you go, if you realize some code is dead and you say, oh, well, later I'll go clean that up, you will forget and it will just exist there. Other people will look at it, think it's necessary. You will forget, you'll look at it, you'll think it's necessary anyway. So I'm going to say that remove the manual constructor for parsing results in favor of JSON library. And I'm going to commit that, and I'm going to actually push that up to master, because why not? Although I guess I'd been kind of doing this by no, I hadn't. I don't know, whatever. This is mine to make up as I go, I suppose. I like the idea of pushing at the granularity of these cards here. Okay, so next up, figure out how to get first and last name back from GitHub. So from what I recall, and I'm pretty sure this is right, there were two essential problems with the way that things have been working thus far. Number one, I am putting the email address based on what comes back from GitHub, but I am not, I think somewhere it's just being hard-coded that, let's see, somewhere I'm just saying Eric Dietrich. In the code, I want to say. Yeah, so in this profile here, I'm doing the right thing, and I'm saying that I should get back the first name, or I'm doing the right thing, and I'm parsing the JSON itself to get the email, but I am not doing the right thing in terms of the first and last name. And if we go, let's get down to brass tacks here. If we go into this, I think it's end-to-end, this profile JSON that I saved. Email is easy. I just look for this. First and last name gets a little more interesting because of this. Now, for now, I think I'm going to be content to just split over the space, use the space as a token, and, item at position 0 is first name, item at position 1 is last name. That is at some point going to fail, I would think, for people with like the baseball player Andy Van Slyke. That's three words in there, so Van is not his last name. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about that. That's a bit of a corner case for now. So what we actually need to do is parse the string containing name, but I'm not going to just do that by hacking at the production code. That's not how this works. Let me find the tests covering this guy. So right now we have an acceptance test for first name, or was it? I don't know, last name, one of the two. Email only, first name only. So I'm just going to drive at this with a unit test. Why these are all question marks? Is this not building? Well, I'm not too worried. I mean, it's green. That means NCrunch goes yellow if it thinks things aren't building. Anyway, that's just kind of strange. Usually those are green checks, not question marks. So here is get profiles for location should return a profile with my email address. I want to see if there's anything about first name in here. Return a profile with last name. So instead of writing new tests, I'm actually going to reappropriate these to, let's see, what Eric result. Let me see where this is defined. Basically, what I want to do is not generate additional tests. I just want to vary the I want to vary the information in here. So where's the name parameter? Eric result. Boy, this is hard to follow. Ah, wait, no, I missed it. You know what? I should be searching for this. How is that not found? This is probably not scintillating watching. Name, Eric Dietrich. That's interesting. Ooh, sorry. Just banged my wedding ring on the desk. That was probably loud. I wonder why that space got pulled out of there. At any rate, now what I want to do is say Bob Smith. And now I am exposing this test for the imposter that it is, because I don't want to test that it returns Dietrich. I want to test that it returns name. Now, maybe the right way to do this would be by actually parsing. Let's see. Goodness. Let me think about that later. So I'm going to get this working. I'm going to go back into the profile searcher and say string profile JSON name. Now that's not going to work. That should work. Don't make a liar out of me. I wonder if I have to either have to do this or split as... So that compiles now. What's the problem? Oh, it just... This make... Ah, okay. That's interesting. When I supply a location, I should have a user named Eric. So that change actually made this acceptance test fail. What are the step definitions here? Oh. The evils of duplication, however indirect. I bet that the same thing is happening here. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here because Visual Studio is bombed out. Oh, sure. Just as I did that, it made a liar out of me. Let's scroll all the way over. I have no idea how this space happened in my name. But, no, wrong one. Okay, that's a... But before I forget, let me do duplication of profile between acceptance and unit tests. Unit tests should really... Hopefully I'll remember what that means later. I don't want to get too bogged down in it at the moment. Alright, so... Don't care about this. Now... Alright, so we've got another failing test, and... This is going to be... That trips me up every time. If you surround something in parentheses, the code rush, what code rush will do for you, if you have something highlighted, code rush will actually, if you do the open paren with something highlighted, it just surrounds it with parentheses, which is a cool feature. Just for whatever reason, it's never what I'm expecting. All right, now this is bringing back the first and last name as we would expect, but this is starting to get a little bit icky. First of all, this method is a little long. If I do an extract here, I am taking the input parameter of... what? So I'm taking a J object and turning it into a profile. Make profile from JSON. All right, this is starting to feel a little bit better. That's fine, but then there's also this duplication here. And this isn't especially safe from a non-happy path scenario. There's a lot that can go wrong here, and I have a card essentially that amounts to that. So for now, all I want to do is eliminate the duplication. But just to kind of put it out there, what's going through my head at the moment that I'm kind of trying to think through is, number one, get this cleaned up and then start to think about all the different ways this JSON could be, theoretically malformed that I get it back. Number two, to think, how many of those do I actually want to test for? Is GitHub really that likely to go mangling its API or to return garbage to me? Probably not real likely, but so there's a question of thinking like, how could this fail? And what might I be doing some gold plating testing for? Like, it's probably not worth testing that they don't send back legitimate JSON or something. Can cross that bridge if it ever comes up. And then the third thing is, in spite of having just gotten rid of the processor 15 minutes ago or whatever, I'm starting to wonder if maybe I don't actually kind of want a separate class here. Because if you look, here's a call stack. This is going to call this, is going to call this. When you start to get into this 3+ deep call stack within a class, that starts to smell to me like maybe I want another class. So maybe I want a class for dealing with the initial JSON we get back with the list of profiles, and then the detailed profile is a different class, perhaps. We'll see how cumbersome testing is, but it's easy to get into this boiled frog kind of situation where your test setup gets more and more intricate as the class grows, and you don't have that one moment where you're thinking to yourself, well, this is nasty. It would be nice if I had a class that I'd extracted. There's not that moment of cutover. You just kind of keep tolerating the cognitive load. And then when you actually extract the class and start to test the new class, life gets a lot less painful. So I just know that from a whole bunch of times of having done it. Anyway, that is probably a future concern. So what do I want to do to eliminate this duplication? Maybe I probably don't need an extra method. Why don't I do this? Let's say that the name token equals string. See what this looks like first. Var name tokens. I think I'll actually just also include the split in here. Dot split. You're gonna make me have this ugly parenthetical, aren't you? Now at least I'm eliminating the duplication. The next thing that occurs to me is to start extracting out constants instead of these so-called magic values. I think I'm going to hold off on that for now. Actually, before I do this, let's do another end-to-end test, and then maybe call it an episode here. Chicago search first name. Actually, this is poorly named. I'm going to add another scenario in here just to confirm that this is in fact working end-to-end. When I supply location wheeling, comma, IL, then I should have a user So I'll generate the step definition, which will, as always, pop up off screen. Copy method to the clipboard. Parameterize, even does it there. Last name. And our profiles equals scenario. Whoa, what just happened? All right, assert is true. Profiles.any. Oops, I do not want packages.config. So I'm going to run these scenarios. I'm going to check my test explorer. All three of them pass. That's good news. Now, I saw something I want to make consistent while I'm in here, which is, I just call this first name. First name, okay. And this I'm doing over and over again. Get the list of profiles. So I'm going to actually just private returned profiles, and I'm going to say that this is going to be this. Instead of duplicating this, I'll give it a good name, and then so this is where I feel kind of naked without NCrunch, because I miss the feedback of seeing these go red or green like immediately. But you know, you gotta make do. I can't be hitting hitting this in the continuous test runner. So you can see I'm not all that practiced with using the Visual Studio test runner. Just making sure. Okay, so they all still pass. That works. Now I've made things a little bit less redundant there, and I don't think I've really sacrificed a lot. Actually, I think naming this makes it more clear. So I'm going to call it a day there. I'm going to commit and say that, what was this card? Got first and successfully retrieving first last name from GitHub using an albeit flawed, that's a little harsh, for probably 95% or so of first last names. Anyway, the thing to do might actually be just to stop fighting it, and this might be a premature optimization. Like maybe I should just, you know, have a single name parameter, go with what GitHub does. I don't know. We'll see. It's not a real high priority. So that's it. Tune in for the next one, and thanks for watching.